Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast, as always presented by Titan MRI, our good folks. In fact, I'm going to go see them. I found out that I have a torn ligament in my finger here, so I'm going to have to get that repaired, and I need to have an MRI first. So guess where I'm going? Titan MRI. They're the best. And of course, we're coming to you not from the Meldon Law Gator studios. These are the Meldon Law Dooley studios. So we're trying this, and we're going to see how this works in terms of doing it from my house. This is my office. This is where the magic happens here. So I know you guys are excited about that, but just trying to do a couple. Like, we're not going to do every one from our house. We're not going to do most of the ones we do early in the week are going to, with Coach Spurrier, are going to be done at still at Coach Spurrier's restaurant. But anyway, so we decided to give this a try. Keeps me from driving 20 minutes and back every once in a while. So we're going to do this today, see how it goes. Today we had a lot of people that we were trying to get on, and every one of them had a reason not to be on. Part of the reason was probably me. But no, it just, we'll have those people on, for example, Sully, Scott Strickland. And on Tuesday, when we take Tuesday's show, which will be up Wednesday morning, we're going to have Allie Peak Wilbur. And I know you guys, many of you in recruiting especially, know her, former UF student, and does a great job with her podcast. Is amazing. I watch it all the time. She's really good, and she loves to talk about recruiting. She loves to talk about the Gators, and of course, she's the wife. She's a daughter of a former Gator player and the wife of Florida punter Eric Wilbur. And we like to joke that people outkick their coverage when they get married. He outkicked his coverage, I can tell you that. And he's not supposed to outkick his coverage because he's a kicker, right? But he did definitely outkick his coverage. So we'll have her on the Wednesday show, and then again, we are efforting and working to get sound better in our studio. Hopefully, it's better on this laptop, but and to move our shows back to Mondays and maybe start doing them live. We're still playing around with a lot of things as we go through the summer, but thankfully our sponsors have hung with us on this, and I hope you guys have hung with us as well. We're doing the best we can. That's all I can tell you. It is time right now for our process service of Gainesville starting five. And of course, we're going to start with number one will be media days. Actually, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are media days because that's what I've been watching all day. I've been watching it every day. Really enjoying it, kind of. But anyway, I did want to talk about Billy Napier, and it was really interesting to see one of or actually multiple interviews he did with different people where he talked about how it did overwhelm him last year. And when you think about it, a guy coming into a blue blood program, it may not be a blue blood team or a blue blood right now, but it was a blue blood program. There's no doubt about it. The place where Spurrier coached, the place where Urban won 2 national titles, 90,000 fans, rabid fan base, media days, which he'd never probably been through. I'm sure the Sunbelt media days are not exactly overwhelming. And then dealing with NIL, dealing with the portal, dealing with all the other stuff that goes into being a head coach at a high-level school. He admitted, and he's kind of talked about it a little bit before, but I think this was the time where he really said, look, it was too much. And but he said, look, we're on schedule now. We're back on schedule. And that's good to hear from Florida, for Florida fans, because obviously this guy is building a roster. And he's building a roster you can be proud of. And it may not be built until year 3 or 4. And I know that it's not easy to deal with that, but that's what it is. It is what it is. And you just have to deal with it. And hopefully they can sneak a couple again. They could have won 8 or 9 games last year if they had just made a couple more plays. And I always talk about every college football season's a handful of plays and a handful of games, and it totally is. There's no doubt about it. That should be my number one commandment of college football, because it is. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, and just before, obviously, Florida got a commitment, flipped a kid from FSU, wide receiver who can really run. TJ, I'm blanking on his last name, but that's another. I mean, Florida, like I've said before, it's not about winning recruiting day, signing day. It's not about having the number one class. It's about having a top 5 class. And you better stack top 5 classes if you're going to build the kind of roster Billy Napier is trying to build. So he's doing a good job. I mean, I think he's doing a great job with all that. And we'll just see if he's gotten better as a play caller. Doesn't take as many gambles. All right. Number 2, I did think one of the things that stood out to me was Lane Kiffin on Thursday, which is today, talking a lot about NIL and portal, and it was kind of funny because he was really good talking about it, and it was all the things we need transparency, we need a salary cap, all this stuff, and the funny thing is when I'm listening to this, I'm like, you tell him, Lane, good job, and then I went, you got nothing you can do about it though. There is nothing. Your commissioner stood up here on Monday and said, hey, if Congress doesn't do anything about it, we're screwed. This is just the way it's going to be. And that is probably the way it's going to be unless Congress gets involved. Again, I go back to this. This is an NCAA problem that they screwed the pooch on, where they could have solved this problem a long time ago and made it where there was transparency, where there was a salary cap. I don't know that the states would have legislated to just have a wild, wild west. I hope not. But the bottom line is they didn't. And now Congress has other things to worry about. And one of those is an election coming up next year. So guess what? They're not going to do anything about it for at least 2 years. So sorry. But it was interesting to hear him talk about it. He did mention, what if LeBron or Tom Brady could leave and change schools or change where they were playing every year? And I'm like, well, like LeBron kind of does, but it's not every year, but every 3 or 4 years, right? But no, I get what he's saying, and that's the coach's lament. The coach's lament isn't that guys leave. Coach's lament isn't that the portal costs you all these players. The coach's lament is this is hard, and it needs to be regulated. That's the coach's lament. They want it to be regulated better, and it's not regulated very well, as we know. Everybody has different rules, but again, I know you guys are tired of talking about it. Number 3 on the process service starting 5, process service of Gainesville starting 5, is how the commissioner also said this in several interviews that I saw, that they have no plans to expand. And okay, you didn't have plans to expand when Oklahoma and Texas called either. So just remember that. But there's no doubt the SEC wants to usher in Oklahoma and Texas next year with nothing else on the table and just make it a smooth transition to the 16-team conference. But North Carolina and Duke call and say, hey, we'd like to come to your league. We want to do what those teams did. That's going to happen. If Virginia calls and you get, I mean, again, you're not getting a huge market there. You're not getting a huge market in North Carolina or Duke, but you're getting eyeballs for basketball. We know that. And you get the academic stuff. I'm not saying that there aren't other schools that if they called that Florida or the SEC would take them, but to think that expansion is over, I'm not that dumb. Okay. But I do believe they do want to be settled down for a little while, and maybe 2 or 3 years if somebody does go on. And we'll just see what happens with the ACC because of their media rights deal and that whole the Magnificent Seven and everything. We'll see what happens with them, but there could be a point where it gets to a breaking point. And if North Carolina said, "Hey, we want to come to the SEC," I would welcome them with open arms. That'd be great. I don't know if you guys have ever been to that stadium. It's really pretty cool. I love that stadium. All right, number 4 on the process service starting 5, process service of Gainesville. The numbers were a big factor today when they were talking. All the coaches were talking. Well, not just today, all week about the numbers they have. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin pointed out, they have 40 new players. South Carolina has 38. Florida, of course, has a ton of them. I didn't add them up. I think there are going to be a lot of new players in this league. And again, this is part of the whole portal draft. SEC is losing the most players to the draft, and that's the positive thing when you're having the greatest conference. The positive thing is you have the best players, so the best players are going to go pro earlier, but you lose so many players at the same time. So you lose all these players, and then you hope that you can fill them with the portal, you can fill them with recruiting, but that's what's happened. There's no doubt about it. Why is my phone on? Oh, okay. That was weird. I didn't get a bing the first time, but I did the second time. All right. So anyway, there's a lot of. It's going to be. You're going to need a program to tell who some of these teams are. I mean, there are so many. Just to get the 12 or 14 quarterbacks right is going to take an effort. Who knows who's going to be at Alabama? Who knows who is going to be at Ole Miss? So I mean, who knows who's going to be in Game 4? Or I will say this: Game 3 for Florida is Tennessee. If it's not working with Graham Mertz in 2 games, you can see a change there. So we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of new faces, and there are going to be times when you go, "Who? Who is that guy? Wasn't he playing for somebody else last year?" Yeah, I think he was. Anyway, that's number 4. Number 5 on the process service of Gainesville starting 5. Did watch a lot of the Open. Did not get up at 1:30 to watch it. Actually, I did start watching it very early, but it was like a featured whole thing, and it wasn't what I was looking for. So I ended up going I had a doctor's appointment, so I didn't. But I watched a lot of it today. You guys are pretty smart, in that you took the field against Rahm and McIlroy for week 1. It looks like that's going to hold up, and look, I think it's going to be great, and we're going to have a great Leonardo's quick picks for you coming up here in a bit. But the thing that I think was interesting was Jeff Cardozo was doing a pool. I did a pool too. I mean, with Steve Hummer from the AJC, good friend of mine, and Dozo was doing a pool yesterday as I was leaving the radio show, or I guess it was Tuesday. And I said, he was asking me for my advice, and I said, don't pick Ricky Fowler. He was getting ready to pick Ricky Fowler. I said, don't pick Ricky Fowler. I'm telling you, it's not going to work out for you. Fowler hit 2 balls out of bounds on a hole today and made an 8. So I don't know. I think that was good advice. I did say, watch out for Terrell Hatton. I think he's playing pretty good. But again, when we're taping this and you're going to watch it, there's no point talking a lot of golf, because by the time you watch it, most of you, it'll be into Saturday's round. All right. So that is our process service starting 5. And we appreciate Scott Hart and the process service of Gainesville for all they do, for being a sponsor. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Our guest for this inaugural From Home Pat Dooley podcast is going to be Robbie. Like I said, I struggle with timing. And a lot of the timing problems are because all the guys I wanted to get on to talk about the SEC are at SEC Media Days. So when they get back, we'll pound them on probably Thursday, because we'll have, like I said, Allie Peak Wilbur will be on Tuesday. We'll probably have a sports writer type guy on Wednesday. On Friday's show. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, it's time for us to take a break before we come back with our Andrew, or as I like to call him, Ra, because his middle name is Albert. And that would be a good Pat Dooley story time. I don't know if he'll give me permission to tell it about how he got a shirt with his initials on it. It's a doozy. It is a doozy. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't tell. Nothing nefarious there, okay? Not on his part, believe me. There was on somebody's part, but I'll stay away from that story. Maybe again, this is another one of the stories, grab me by the shirt collar and say, hey, what about the Robbie Raw story? I'll tell that one. All right, it's time for us to take a break, and then we'll come back with Robbie Andrew, play Yes, No, Where, Maybe, and talk to him about SEC Media Days. And then, of course, our third segment will have all the fun stuff, Hesser and Kipke, Leonardo's Quick Picks, Adam's Ribco to go Gator of the Week, the Swamp Restaurant Games of the Weekend, this, that, and the other, and Pat Dooley's Storytime. Man, a lot of stuff to talk about, and we will continue doing it here on another Dooley Noted podcast, brought to you by the good folks at Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Studio.
Hi there, this is head ball coach Steve Spurrier, and I'm here with my wife Jerry and our good friend Sherry Houston, the executive director of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of North Central Florida. We're thrilled to announce that the 2-year anniversary of our restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, is coming up on August 14th. Last year we had so much fun celebrating with everybody that we're doing it bigger and better this year. We're hosting a special dinner and celebration that will include a chef's choice of premium buffet or your favorite Spurrier Gridiron Grill menu, including a filet mignon carving station, shrimp and grits, short rib risotto, wonderful seafood options, and many dessert options also.
Like my famous chocolate chip cookies.
Proceeds being donated to the local Ronald McDonald House.
Thrilled to once again partner with Coach Jerry and the Spurrier Gridiron team to raise funds for the Ronald McDonald House, benefiting families and children experiencing medical emergencies.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill will be donating 11% of all of our money from food and 66% of drink sales to the Ronald McDonald House.
Go to Spurriers.com right now and reserve a ticket before they sell out.
We'll have wonderful food, special guests, and a limited edition of the 2nd year anniversary collector's coins, as well as prizes like a dinner with me and Jerry. We couldn't have become one of the busiest and most successful restaurants in the Southeast without your support. So we want to celebrate with the most important people of our team, and that's you.
I want to celebrate with some of those cookies. Do you have any of those?
Sure do. Right here for you.
Oh, thank you.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8 TR at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program. Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley studios today, because we're doing it from my house, and appreciate Meldon Law and all our great sponsors for being part of it, including Big Meals Cheesesteak, which is bringing me and you and Robbie Andrew to you because we appreciate Big Meals Cheesesteak on their Zoom line. So thanks a lot for them being part of it. Robbie, how are you today?
Good, Pat. How are you?
I know you remember that sign that I've got over my head here.
I do. Brings back memories, Pat.
Yeah, that was a good night.
Carrying that one home.
I remember the moment we walked into the press box and we had never seen Ethernet cables before, and all of a sudden we just plugged them into our computer and we were on the internet. And
that was like a miracle, wasn't it? That was unbelievable.
Well, we had so many problems in like Columbia, South Carolina was one of the worst. You could never get on the internet and everything. But
it was always an adventure.
I'm wondering what you thought of Princely. I don't even want to try the Uman and Leyland.
That's close enough, Pat.
Is now going to be number one, so he'd be Uno Malayan, I guess.
I think it's a great decision for the coaching staff. The guy obviously works his butt off. And he's been one of the best players last year by far, and he got overlooked a little bit. But he's getting a lot of recognition now as a guy that's going to be probably a all SEC type player for Florida. So I like it. I think you give it number one to the guy that's going to set an example. He does that from what I can tell.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that it used to be a big deal to wear 15 or 11 or 7, but now it's a big deal to 1 or 0, which is an absence of numbers, not a number. But and I always thought it was too easy for people to make fun of you if you had number 0.
Yeah,
Just a big 0, man.
he's a 0.
All right, I want to get some of your thoughts before we get to yes, no way, or maybe on what we saw at SEC Media Days. Of course, we watched a little bits and pieces off TV. I know you did. First of all, with Florida, with Billy Napier, I thought it was really interesting, and I wrote about this for Gators Wire, how Billy finally, I mean, he has kind of said this during other interviews, but in all the interviews he did out there, he basically said, I was overwhelmed last year, man, because not only did I go into this program with a roster that was damaged, try to convince guys to stick around. Then I deal with the NIL, and I had to deal with the transfer portal. It was tough for a first-year coach.
Yeah, it was, Pat. And, he hung in there and did well. Now he's kind of got his thing all established the way he wants it to be. And, every time I listen to him talk, Pat, I kind of buy into what he's doing. And, again, every interview I saw with him was like, this guy, he knows what he's doing. Give him a chance. I think he's going to make it.
That's what I told Karen. I go, every time I listen to him talk, I'm like, man, this is the right guy. This is going to work out. And then I watch their games and I go, maybe not.
That's the way it's been.
But again,
there should be. Yeah.
The sample size we have is only 13 games long.
Yeah, it's way too small, Pat. And usually there is a bump between first and second year. So we'll see how that goes. And if he has a good one, they show progress, I think he'll be, starting to establish himself as the coach of the future here. So
I guess the greatest bump would really have been Charlie Pell. To go from 0-10-1 to 8-4.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Doug Dickey's bump was not. There was no bump there.
No. It was a drop off.
His was not a good one. Coach obviously won the SEC for real this time.
Yes, Spurrier had a good bump. You're right.
Did Urban Meyer won a national title in his second year? So certainly a lot of guys who have done well in that second year. Also, listening to Nick Saban. He's clearly, the message has been sent to his players, we're getting disrespected. They are 2023's version of Georgia. Last year, Georgia was saying, no, everybody's picking us to win 8 games or 7 games. Nobody was picking them to do that.
No, that was all make-believe on Kirby Smart's part. But, it is amazing. All of a sudden, everybody's saying Alabama's trying to catch Georgia now. But, they're pretty equal in my mind. I mean, Georgia's won back-to-back titles, but Alabama's been there right there both years. But people look at this as a critical year for Saban. Is he starting to fade a little bit from what he has been or not? Because Kirby Smart has it rolling at Georgia now. People are wondering about Saban. He's getting older. And, is Alabama behind Georgia now? And is it going to get the gap even widen this year?
Yeah, Saban's only 2 appearances now behind Spurrier for the all-time lead, 23. Of course, you have to go to 2 schools to do that, I think, pretty much.
Yeah, you did. He did.
I tell you, I did sense that Brian Kelly likes his team a lot. And, he talked about how they don't have the roster that Georgia does yet. That's what they're shooting for. But I bet you he would say, I'll take my 22 against your 22.
Yeah, and Pat, this is why Kelly went to LSU, because he never had this kind of talent at Notre Dame. He had good talent, really good talent he could work with, but LSU takes it to another level of talent. It's always been that way. Every time you look at an LSU team, it looks like an NFL team going out there with all the talent they have, and that's why he went there, because he has the talent to win it all now.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and we'll see how it goes in Dallas next year for them. But let's go ahead and play Yes, No Way, or Maybe with Robbie Andrew. It's brought to you, as always, by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining, or Dane Dunning done the right way, street dining done the right way. And we appreciate Keith over there at Big Mills Cheesesteak and for sponsoring Robbie. And also Robbie's appearances are all sponsored by Hesser and Kipke. And we'll get to Hesser and Kipke's 2 things in a little bit. So it's a lot to say. But
you did it, though.
Let's get to number 1, which is we I think I asked you this question earlier in the summer. Our summer is last 9 months, but earlier in the summer, and we talked about it then, but I'm just wondering if anything's changed your mind now, because I don't even remember your answer on this. Alabama and Georgia play in the SEC title game. Yes, no, where, maybe.
I'm going to say maybe, Pat, because I think LSU. I think it's going to be LSU. The thing is, they have to go to Alabama and play. Their schedule's pretty tough, but I think it's a maybe. It's not a yes for sure. Yeah, I think maybe earlier in the summer I might have said yes, but now, looking at the stuff that's going on and what people are saying, and you look at LSU's talent and the fact they beat Alabama last year, I think it's only a maybe there that Alabama's going to make it.
It's you and I were talking about this when we did Radio Monday off the air, and I thought it was because you get nothing but positive stuff. Positive stuff at the SEC Media Days. We've been to a million of them, and we know that. But at some point, there's 56 games between the two schools, between all the 14 schools. That means there's 56 losses coming in the SEC, in just SEC games. So somebody's not going to be happy. A lot of teams aren't going to be happy.
Yeah, everybody's excited and fired up, now, Pat, because like you say, it's the talking season. Everybody's had a great off-season workout program. Everybody's fired up, but the losses are going to come for some people. They're going to be a lot for some teams. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's the way it is. It's just the way it is. Number 2 on yes, no, where, maybe. Robbie, you learned something this week.
Did I learn something this week?
From watching SEC Media Days, yes.
Not really, Pat, because I didn't really watch that much. So I'm going to say no. I didn't really learn much of anything. Only that the Kentucky guys got 6 fingers on one hand. I learned that.
I think
that's the only thing I really learned.
Yeah. But yeah, there were some good suit games too. But
what about you? Did you learn anything from?
I did learn one thing that I could have looked up at any point. I'd never realized it. That Arkansas has never won in Gainesville.
Yeah, I saw where he brought that up yesterday, and I didn't realize that either.
Brought it up, and it's 10.
But they haven't played there that often, too. That's the thing.
No, well, you remember very well the one loss in the Bluebonnet Bowl, the first time they ever played.
Yeah.
Dwayne Dixon had a big game, but Gary Anderson was unstoppable. We've seen that game before.
Yeah.
And then the other time, you and I were there. We stayed. I think was it Fort Smith that we stayed in.
It was.
Yeah, and then that game was abysmal. In 16, they just got destroyed.
Oh, it was.
I think Anzalone got hurt and was lost for the year in that game.
Yeah, he did.
That was
there were a bunch of injuries in that game. It was a bad loss.
Yeah, it was a low light in the McElwain era, no question about it. All right, and finally, number 3, and again, the British Open's going on right now. I know you can't wait to get back to it. Obviously, there'll be another one tomorrow, another round of it tomorrow. By the time people see this, they may know the answer, but I'm going to still bring it up to you, Robbie. Billy Horschel makes the cut at the British Open.
I'm going to say maybe, Pat, because I don't really know where he stands right now. I don't know if he's playing right now or if he's
1 over after 9 is last I saw. So,
if he's 1 over after 9, I think he's in pretty good shape. So I'm going to say he's going to make the cut. But he hasn't been playing all that great lately.
Well, no, but he made the cut. Thank goodness he made the cut at the U.S. Open because I was able to get back my hat. You see my hat sitting up there?
Yeah.
U.S. Open hat that my daughter sent me, so I was able to get her tickets for it. So from Billy. But all right, Robbie, that's going to do it. We appreciate you taking a little extra time, and we'll be back with you Tuesday. Are you going to be back on Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm back on Tuesday. Always a pleasure, Pat.
All right, we'll see you, Robbie.
Okay, enjoy the Open.
I will. That is Robbie Andrew, and you know him well, formerly of the Gainesville Sun, but certainly one of the best guys in the world to talk to. And we love having Robbie on, brought to you by Hesser and Kipke. And, of course, in the Zoom line is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. We got to take a break, and we'll come back. This may be a little bit of a shorter show than normal, but not that much shorter. We're still trying to iron this stuff out, make sure we're in good shape to be able to do it from home every once in a while. It's my call. But, look, I don't mind hearing from you guys. I know some of you have sent me emails about sound in the past. Certainly recently, there has been a couple. Some of you have sent me about production values and everything. I take them all seriously. I read them all. Sometimes there's nothing we can do about it. Sometimes there is stuff we're going to do about it. We try to get better at it. So If you're listening to this show, feel free to text me or email me. You know how to get a hold of me. It's not too hard. And I know Zach takes it all to heart. So we appreciate Zach as well. All right, it's time for us to take a break. Then we'll come back. Hesser and Kipke, Leonardo's, Adams, Rico, all that fun stuff. We'll do that on the other side of the break. You're listening to or watching another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer to go. What gave me the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Gator Studios. That's what we'll call it, the Gator Dooley Studios. Well, that was the name my dad had. I was thinking about this just a minute ago. My dad, he insisted everybody refer to him as Gator Bob. In fact, we were told to wear, and I was happy to do it because I can do this now, orange and blue to the funeral, and I have an orange and blue tie sitting right up there that I wore to that funeral. I wore it when my brother's daughter, Lauren, got married, to make sure that my dad had an appearance there. But the last time I did one of these video, another Dooley Noted podcast, was the day my dad passed away. I was over at St. Augustine, so we did it over there and kind of had a kickoff, and then we used some old ones to fill it in, but makes me think about it. A lot. I think about it all the time. There's not a day goes by. See this great picture of my dad right here? See this? There he is. Yeah. I would love to play golf with him again. One more time. Anyway, let us move on to our third segment where we have a lot of fun. And of course, we start off with the three things brought to you by Hesser and Kipke. It's a Gainesville law firm specializing in the area of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Well, check out their 5-star Google reviews or set an appointment at hklawfl.com. Better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. That went pretty smooth there, Zach. You must be proud of me for being able to do that without screwing it up once. Anyway, Hesser and Kipke, we appreciate them. And number one on three things. Okay, I did not get up this morning at 3 a.m. to watch soccer, women's soccer of any kind, soccer, football. I wouldn't get up at 3 a.m. to watch football, but I did pay attention to it. And it was a big upset, I guess. New Zealand beat Norway in the first match, and it was like a big upset. New Zealand had never won a World Cup match. So good for them. Good for the Kiwis. Well done. That's not a disparaging term, right? Kiwis. I think it's a good term, right? I would think it is. I like the fruit. When we'll get to when the Americans play, when we get to our Swamp Restaurant games of the weekend. We'll get to that in just a minute. All right, number 2 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. Saquon Barkley now, and we talked about this in Wednesday's show, but Saquon Barkley now saying, I may just have to skip the season. Now, when the guy says that, nobody takes him serious. Nobody. I don't care what position you're playing. They're going to try to work a deal out or whatever they try to do. But I think especially at that position, nobody's going to take you seriously. Yeah, you want to take out the year, sit out the year? You're a great player, but we got more of them that we can put in there. We can get them a dime a dozen. You may be a little bit better than all of them, but we're not. They just aren't going to spend money on running backs, which is so weird the way it's kind of worked out. But I don't know. It's mind-boggling to figure out what's going on. But I don't take Saquon Barkley serious. Let's just put it that way. And number 3 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. This happened early in the week, but I did want to bring it up. Wyatt Langford signing a deal for $8 million for the Rangers, throwing out the first pitch of the game, brought VT Riopel with him. His slot value was actually lower. He got more than his slot value. It's funny, Josh Rivera got less in his slot value for being where I was 3rd round, I believe. But Rivera had no options, so he didn't have any leverage. Langford theoretically still had leverage. I mean, he could have said, hey, if you're not going to give me what I need, I can take off. So you give a guy with leverage a little more, you give a guy with no leverage a little less. And that's part of the deal of negotiating these baseball deals. But I guess I'm a Texas Rangers fan now. I mean, because I love Wyatt Langford. I mean, I love that guy. Of course, I love the Braves, so I can't wait to watch Waldrop whenever he gets to pitch for them. But Wyatt Langford is a special dude, man. Like when you can tell. Like I went and saw it was the Olympic. It wasn't the Olympic trials, the Olympic festival. It was in '95, so the year before the '96 Olympics. So I went to it out in Colorado Springs. It was a great trip. My now wife went with me. We had a blast. Went up Pikes Peak and everything. But I said one thing I'm going to do, because there's a lot of Gators out there, or soon to be Gators. So one thing I'm going to do is go watch this guy Wilkeson. Is that his name? Who is Florida's signing. I don't know anything about it. He's from Kentucky. And I went and watched him play. And I watched the game. And when it was over, I went, oh my. Florida has got a great player. And I went and did the interview, and I'm like, I can't wait to see you play at Florida. And of course, arguably the best player, but there is a Langford argument out there. There's a Caglione argument out there if he has a big year like he did last year and gets better at pitching. So, but certainly happy for Wyatt Langford, just a small town boy from Trenton, Florida. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's get to our Swamp Restaurant games of the weekend, and there's a lot to be watching, certainly. And we appreciate the Swamp Restaurant. Sangria Saturdays, man. You want to head out there. Nice, cool, refreshing drink on a hot summer day. It's hard to beat. And they got specials on sangria on Saturdays. I know they have other things. I should get my daughter, who's here, actually. I should get her to come in because she's there a lot. She watches all our big sporting events there. And I'm sure she will probably be watching the United States in soccer. And that is one of the things that's going on this weekend on TV. The U.S. versus Vietnam. We need revenge for the war that we caused and lost. I don't know. It's like Bill Murray said in Stripes. We're the United States. We're 10-1. I don't know. It may have been a tie. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. It was, well, I don't want to get into politics. All right. The game, though, between the United States and Vietnam is at 9:00 on Fox. So that's where you need to be watching it. The baseball this weekend, Saturday, Mets at Boston on FS1 at 4:10. Also, the Braves at Milwaukee, 7:15 on Fox. Fox is going to be busy. Sunday, the Mets at Boston again. That is the ESPN game at 7:00. So some good baseball this weekend. I look forward to that. I think I've been able to find Braves games on the Plus, which has been good too. Although the way they're playing right now, I don't know. And then finally, the U.S. Open, the British Open is Saturday on NBC and Sunday on NBC. Both days it comes on NBC at 7. And you don't really need to be watching before that because it's just guys trying to move up in moving day and everything. That's when it's going to get interesting. And on Saturday it ends at 3, the coverage, but it won't end if they're still playing. And then Sunday at 2. So that is our Swamp Restaurant games of the weekend. Appreciate the Swamp. All right, let's get to another guy we really appreciate, and that is Adam Brewer over at Adam's Ribco to Go. Gator of the Week, as we love to do the Gator of the Week. And we love doing the Gator of the Weekend as well. And you know who it's going to be this week? I'm giving it to the students at the University of Florida, who for the 3rd year in a row sold out their allotment of tickets. There was a big part of the movement, I think. I don't know that it was in the administrative offices, but it was certainly with fans and with other people, media, was, hey, the students aren't showing up for games anyway. There's 5,000 seats you can cut out. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if they got the message or what. But next thing you know, they sold out 3 years in a row, their student allotment. So good for them. And that's why they are the Adams Ribco to Go Gators of the Week. All right, let's get to This, That, and the Other. As you know, This, That, and the Other is brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill, where my daughter started working there. So if you see her in there, say, hey, leave it at that. I don't want it to get creepy. And by Ironwood Golf Course, where my brother Tim and I are going to go try to play 36 holes tomorrow. I don't think it's possible in this heat, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to try. Let's put it that way. And of course, by Dar Shakow Insurance, the great folks over at Dar Shakow for your home, auto, commercial, and life insurance. We appreciate Dar Shakow. Okay, this is when SEC Media Days were getting ready to start. I was kind of going, maybe I shouldn't have left the paper. Maybe I should have stuck around. Maybe I should have stayed. I love going to SEC Media Days. I love seeing all the people there, rekindling friendships, talking about the summer, seeing the coaches, talking to the coaches, seeing Greg saying, I miss it. Great hotel always, I miss it. That is then I start seeing all these people on TV, many of them who have been on our show and will be on our show. And I'm like, man, I wish I was there. I really wish I was there. And then about, I don't know, 3 coaches into it, I watched a lot of it. The other is, I'm glad I'm not there. I'm glad I'm home, or I can watch it on my recliner. I know I'm an old man, but that's not why. I hear the questions that are being asked, and I go, you guys these aren't good questions. Now, some of them are really dumb. Some of them are look at me questions. Those are the ones I hate the most. In fact, I used to try, because it used to be just ask questions, just shout them out. You had to stand up and give your affiliation. I used to try to Coach, can you talk, that kind of thing. Can you talk about it? I try not to do can you talk about, but some people do. But anyway, I'm glad I'm not there. I know everybody who's there is having a great time. Apparently, they've been throwing all kinds of big parties for the media boys and girls. I hope they're having fun. It's a time that has passed me by. All right, that is going to do it for This, That, and the Other, brought to you by Ironwood, by Ballyhoo, and by Dar Shakow Insurance. It is time to wrap it up with Pat Dooley's story time. And I've already told like 3 stories, but I'm going to tell one more. But this is a emotional one. I just talked about my dad a little bit. Of course, Pat Dooley's story time brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics, our good friends down there. But when the 2 commercials they keep running over and over. There's one of them is for LSU baseball winning the national championship. So I just want to just mute it and just get away from it. But the other one is they keep running this ad for True South, which is, I've watched it a few times, pretty good. It's a little much, but it's about them going to places that serve food, and they're going to Osteen's in St. Augustine. And every time that commercial comes on, it's been on 400 times. Every time it comes on, I get a little tinge of sadness. One year for Mother's Day, I was just barely out of college. I took my mom to Osteen's on Mother's Day. That was a big deal. She loved it. She loved that fried shrimp. And I think about missing how much I miss her. Certainly miss my dad too, but missing them both. Osteen's, pretty good stuff there. There's a lot of good food in St. Augustine. We're actually heading over there for the weekend, so I can't wait for that. But we will be back with a Wednesday show, which we'll tape Tuesday. We'll be joined by Allie Peak Wilbur. Can't wait to talk to her. And we'll do that one from Spurrier's, like we always do. We're going to do that one from Spurrier's. I think there's I got to go back and look at this after Zach posts it and see how it held up and get your responses. Look, if you just don't like the way I look, please don't respond, because I can't change that part of it, okay? But hopefully this will work out and we can do a few more of these from home. Not all of them, not every week, just every once in a while. Got it? All right, got it. All right, guys. Thanks to Zach for doing a great job of hooking us up. Thanks to Robbie Andrew for joining us. And we look forward to next week. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I'm way back. And I am out of here.